Avner, could you tell me a bit about Boxee and what your business model is?
Yeah, so Boxee is a free social media center that people download to their computers, and then they connect the computer to a TV screen using a cable, HDMI to DVI or something of the sorts, and they use the computer's remote control in order to navigate the software. And then what the software enables them to do is access all the media that they have in their home network, so their movies, pictures, music, whatever they have there, as well as access the favorite internet services, so Netflix and Hulu and YouTube, Major League Baseball, photos, Picasa and Flickr and Facebook, and music, Pandora and Last.fm, and variety, tons and more content. So that's what Boxee does. In terms of business model, so it's a free product, and right now we don't monetize it in any way. In the future, we believe there is a lot of value that is being created by offering that type of product to consumers, and we believe we'll be smart enough to monetize it one way or another. But the focus right now is improve the product, grow the user base, and get Boxee beyond the computer platforms and into additional devices.
Right, and one of your major competitors, presumably Apple TV and these kind of platforms like that.
Yeah, so Apple TV is in the space. There's Microsoft Media Center and what they're doing on the Xbox, and we're trying to be the Firefox of the space. Boxee is open source. We are very user-driven in terms of our roadmap. We move very fast and quick, so very much like what Firefox has been doing in the browser business, we want to do in the living room. And yes, we're competing with Microsoft and Apple, but we also believe there is a huge market opportunity that is opening up, and users are just warming up to those type of technologies. And if we stay true to being open source and being very accessible to developers and accessible to users, we can garner enough market share.
Right. One thing you talked about in this conference is that when you developed Boxee, you actually got user interface designers in before you even wrote one line of code.
Right.
Can you tell me a bit about that experience?
Yeah, so we always thought that there's the challenge of bringing the internet to the TV. First of all, is a physical challenge. How do you actually get the internet to the TV? Whether it's a box or it's a cable or it's whatever. And the second is a software challenge. So that's what's the user experience, what's the internet experience is like. Because once you have the power of the internet with that big screen, suddenly the biggest challenge becomes discovery and navigation, because you have endless amounts of content. So we realized that that's a major challenge, and we worked with Method to design the first iteration of the UI, and that helped us a lot in terms of getting our heads around what we need to invest in.
Right. And Boxee, because it's all about discovery of programs and things like that, threatens to disrupt, traditional business models of bundling programs and channels and that kind of thing. What do you see that being a way of monetizing in the future, that people might bundle based on social profiles and things like that?
Yeah, so I think bundling is not going away. I just think we'll see different types of bundling. But also you see what happened in the music business, that people were saying, I really want to buy that track, but don't make me buy the whole album, right? Because once it's digital, you can do that. And I think the same is happening with video. People may say, I really like this show, but I don't want the whole channel. Or I really like this channel, but I don't want those 5 other channels as well. So I think people will be willing to pay, and will be willing to watch ads. It's just that they want more control over what they're paying for. And I think that the fact that it opens up and users will have more control over what they're paying for is actually going to be a huge boost for independent content owners, because then you'll start seeing more and more talent coming online, doing shows, creating great value in terms of the content they produce, and users coming to their content and paying or watching ads in ways that they couldn't have done before with traditional cable model, that you had to get a certain amount of audience and you had to put in a certain slot, and just too difficult.
Yeah. And so going back to this idea of new talent emerging, you talked about the Howard Stern effect, and that the internet TV needs a Howard Stern moment.
Right.
Could you explain a bit what the Howard Stern moment is and some of your ideas?
Yes, so in satellite it was strong when Howard Stern in the US moved from traditional radio to to satellite radio, to Sirius, it was a huge endorsement of the platform, and then afterwards came many more talent. I think today the reality on the internet is you have many people that they do stuff on the internet hoping to graduate to television or to graduate to movies, right? That it's a platform for them to get discovered or get something going, but not to make money. And I think the internet is starting to get ready, not just as a platform to jump to television, but actually as a platform where you can make a living, make a nice living, and that you'll start seeing talent come on. But right now, there's this kind of disconnect that I think if we have a Howard Stern-like moment, that we have huge talent that says, you know what, my next show I'm doing online, and I'm going to charge for it, I'm going to offer advertising, there's going to be a whole package around it, it'll get investors. And I think if we get one major event like that, that will open up the flood for more and more people to come. But it needs to be the case where the internet needs to show that it can generate real business for these people, for these talent. And I think we're getting there. I think we're right there on the edge.
Right. So do you think that would be a partnership with a kind of traditional broadcaster? So they're sort of getting the advertising revenue and things like that?
Yeah, it may be. It may be that you'll have one of the traditional broadcasters, doing something different. Or it may be that someone that has a big enough brand, a big enough talent will say, you know what, my next project, I'm just going to, I'm going to take a risk. I want to be that first one when they'll talk about history. And going back to 2010, when the first big moment for video on the internet, it was this guy, So it may appeal to someone to take the risk on it. I mean, Will Ferrell has done Funny or Die in the US, but I'm not talking about this type of project. I'm talking about the real show, rather long form that is highly, high production value, that someone is taking like a real risk on the internet.
Wow. So one of the other things was you mentioned shows that are trailering kind of 6-minute programs online, and then you can either wait for the regular update or you can buy the entire series there and then.
Right.
Is there many examples of that? And
I don't think so. I know of one, and I actually know the guy that has done it, and I hope he's done well with it. But I think that's just one of the innovations that you can do around the business model, because you have that platform. I mean, on traditional TV, it's very hard to do, because you can't just take over the 24-hour channel and say, I'm going to put this show for 24 hours. Because it's an on-demand platform, people can make that decision. You can play with various different models. And I think that's one is valid, is saying, I put this show, it will take 10 weeks for it to complete. If you're very anxious to get the rest of the episodes, get it now. And I think that's very valuable. If you look at shows like, Lost or
The
Wire or Heroes or Rome that the BBC has done with HBO, I would pay a big premium to just get it all now.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, that's exactly what's happened with The Wire. The BBC have been putting it on every night, and people have given up watching it because it's too addictive, and so they've gone and bought the DVD.
Yep. Yeah, or they download it from BitTorrent. Right? Yeah. So you need to offer the users, if a user wants to pay, you should give them the option to get the content. Unfortunately, today the situation is that for many of those shows or movies, it's not available. It's either you download from BitTorrent or you cannot watch it.
So that leads me into two questions. One being that with an on-demand service and a discovery service like Boxee, it's like you can follow a thread of content. So you can one night think, all I want to watch is comedy, right, and just keep generating comedy. What the TV stations and what a lot of broadcasters at Bloomberg, at this event today, what we don't see is people talking about putting their archive back online so that I can watch, all the programs ever about dolphins or, Scottish kings and things like that. Yep. Do you think that in a sense, by pushing for live shows only, they're kind of driving a lot of content back into torrent sites and driving it onto YouTube and Google? So,
yeah, you may be right. I think some of it is rights issues. Is that they can't put the episodes of Seinfeld because right now Sky is broadcasting it on whatever channel, and just they're not allowed to interfere when it's on broadcast. But I think libraries, and you have huge libraries of lots of great content that is out there and is not available for you online. No reason why it shouldn't be there. I mean, beside those windows that are being blocked. But I think the industry will realize that it needs to make all the content available for consumers, old as well as new. Because if you're not going to do that, the user, if you're making your content not accessible, then the user has two choices. Either he's going to get it from BitTorrent, or he's going to watch something else. Both options for the content owner are not great options. So they need to get there. I think the more and more people you have on the internet that are using it to watch video and are demanding to be able to watch what they want, eventually the content companies will be compelled to offer their content in a variety of models and put just all their content online, as well as theatrical releases. That may be years away, but you know, if a movie just came out, there's no reason why it shouldn't be available for you at home as well. Maybe it's going to cost you $50 to get it at the day it was released, but there is a price that it's worth it to the content owner and it's worth it to the user, right?
Yeah. And finally, Boxee is heavily about creating a richer user experience, and it's proven to work. I mean, I've heard a statistic that 20% of Apple TV owners are hacking it to put Boxee on it. What do you think? How are you going to survive the next phase when, you know, big broadcasters start to develop into this area of sort of, you know, browsers for TV?
Yeah, I think our advantage is us being small and being open source and being user driven, and that we can take risks and we can be very aggressive in the space. And those are things that are very hard to do for a big company. And you know, there may be a certain number of users that for them the Boxee approach will be appealing, and hopefully that number is going to be significant enough for us to build a business. But I think that being small is a huge advantage.
Brilliant. Avner, thank you very much.
Thank you.